Oh, yes. Caught offside from just outside of New York City and from an apartment in Brooklyn, New York. Andrew Gunling and J.J. Devaney. What's up, brother?
Um, is this okay now?
Hypothetically, we're streaming live on YouTube right now. I
Right.
have I have no clue if we
S-
are or aren't.
Well, Steve L says, let's go. Patrick Smith, take two and go. Royalty 95, round two. Patrick Crawford, fight.
You are a monster.
How am I a monster? I didn't even know what I got wrong. It just, in the middle of the start of the last podcast, all I could hear was you doubling up in my brain like I was going absolutely insane. Like all I could hear was you. It was a nightmare scenario for everyone involved, mainly me.
I have no idea what people have or have not heard. So I'm
They
going to
they
do all of this.
they saw my face. JJ is a bad guy. Harley Dude '07. This isn't my fault. I don't know what happened. But we're back now. And so what? Let's just restart.
It's a good point. None of that matters anymore. All right. None of that matters. You got to move on and we got to do the pod. To everybody who's joining live on YouTube right now, thank you for joining us. Please be an interactive participant in this. We love that. We want to talk to all of you. We want to take your comments and questions. This is, after all, a mailbag special. We've been compiling a lot of different mail throughout the course of the week on email, on Twitter, on the Reddit page. So we've been taking all that. Apologies in advance if something you submitted does not get through tonight. I know there was a ton that came through, which is
There
awesome.
was.
We love that. That is so cool that all of you guys responded the way that you did. And that's why we're able to do these mailbag specials, because of everybody out there who wants to be a part of it and who asks great questions and has great comments. So it's awesome. What's up?
I should say, no channel has chimed in. JJ at the start of the fail live stream. I hope everything goes wrong. Like,
Yeah, why just say that?
just
Exactly.
asking for it, man. Oh, because ultimately I am a nihilist and I want to see the world crash and burn. That's ultimately what I want. And I've done it now through the medium of my own podcast.
So here's
Uh,
the problem now. We're at a minor, small crossroads issue in the beginning of this podcast, because everybody who was watching on the live stream has already heard what I'm about to say, but people are going to download this later as a podcast and they deserve to hear it too. So I'm going to go right into the mail now, JJ. I'm going to repeat everything that I said to the live stream people about 5 minutes ago. So we took all your mail. We're going to dive right into it now. The first one comes from Chris Dokapil, who asks, who has been the most disappointing player in the Premier League season so far? For me, of all the questions we got, I thought this was actually the easiest one to answer. I'm curious what you make of that after I say it, but I went with Mason Mount of Chelsea just because I did not. At no point did I think his season was going to go this way. He's now actually missed 4 straight games for Chelsea. He had never missed more than 2 in a row for them prior to this. 3 goals and 2 assists this season, both career lows. I know there's still time for that to change, but it's not going to come close to his 11 and 10 from last season. And it's reached the point now where this player, who was like the crown jewel of Chelsea's youth system, who came up, who felt like a total undroppable, just like had to play at all costs, no matter what. Now contract talks between him and the club have stalled. It's to the point where it almost feels like it's a certainty where he's going to be sold this summer. That might be an overstatement, but that's a lot of the chatter right now, is that it seems like he's rumored to go. Andreas Pereira of Fulham, his name I've already seen brought up as a possible replacement.
yeah.
I never thought it would happen. Remember, if you go back to our season preview podcast, he was the guy. What was the one question we asked? Who's the player that needs to have a big season? He was my answer, because I sort of thought that he was kind of at like this moment in his career where if he just kicked it up a little bit more, if his 11 goals, 10 assists, if he could get that to like 16 and 10, something like that, then who knows what that means for Chelsea, and also what it would mean for his career. If he continued at the trajectory he was going, then it looked like they had a superstar on their hands. And unfortunately for him and for the club, it's gone the complete opposite direction. And I guess it's almost speaks a little bit to what I was saying, where for him to have fallen off a cliff in the way that he has, I guess it shouldn't be necessarily shocking that Chelsea's season has done the same. So that was my answer. Biggest disappointment so far, it's Mason Mount for me.
Yeah. Apart from my technical skills, the biggest disappointment so far. And I don't want people to eat me for this because they're still going to have a good season. But like Anthony,
Huh.
I looked at the stats. Like, guy has no assists. If you go to FBref, which I know you adore,
Yeah.
and you look at the things that you kind of want from someone like him, a lot of the areas, Andrew, they're in the red. Assists, shot creating actions. I mean, he's in the 56th percentile for passes attempted. Pass completion, the 60th percentile. Progressive passes, the 40th percentile. Successful take-ons, only in the 39th percentile. This guy is supposed to be a wing wizard. Now, progressive passes received, 74th percentile. Just so much stuff is like, bleh, not that good. No, I gassed him up. I said he was going to be brilliant. I thought he was going to be very, very good because of Ten Hag's knowledge of him and the way he'd fit him into the team. And that may yet come to pass. But so far, kind of disappointing, I must be honest. But there's plenty of options to go for. How about Lucas Paqueta at West Ham?
Okay.
2 goals, 2 assists, all that money. Scamacca at West Ham. West Ham have a version of most disappointing player, most disappointing signing as well, all of their own. So I don't know. There's a lot to pick from there, but I think in a team that's doing so well with Anthony, he's not there yet for me. And there's the settling into the Premier League, blah blah blah. But still, kind of disappointed with him.
Yeah. If you had told me also that we would be almost at the end of March, we'd be in the Sweet 16 of March Madness, and Richarlison would still not have scored a goal for Tottenham in the league, I would say, oh, well, that's not good. We spent a fair amount of money on him. But the only reason, though, that I still proclaim Mount over those is that sometimes I'll give a guy a little bit of not a full-on pass, especially when you pay a lot of money for somebody like Richarlison or like Anthony, but like he is acclimating with a new team. Maybe sometimes it takes a little bit of time for a guy to slot in and find what his role is going to be. But like Mount, like supposed to be the focal point.
Yeah,
has been. So I don't know. Like it's a little worrisome.
The animals are going crazy for Calvin Phillips. Like that is
okay. That's a good one too.
That's a big one. Someone says that Anthony is a TikTok player. I get what you mean. Like Anthony doing a spin against Southampton, like inside, just on the halfway line or wherever. Like that's.
Yeah, I saw there was a video going around the other day of him just doing one in training where he kind of just like is standing there and takes the ball and just sort of like spins in circles over and over again. Yeah, so I guess I see. I watched. I was like, oh, what a player! And then I was like, wait a minute, this is nothing. He's not doing anything.
And I think he gave the ball away immediately after. So that's.
Can I raise one that I'm wondering what you and the animals will think of?
Okay.
If I raise this, it might be controversial.
We love when you raise things, Andrew.
What about Van Dijk?
Yeah, I would say so. Especially considering last year, everything that was done by Liverpool, and that was that was his first season back after the ACL. So you would have thought that would have been the slow season, but this has kind of been the decline season. And there's been such big moments, like Bournemouth is fresh in the memory. Like he was so poor in that game. I'm not saying he was alone, but he looked particularly bad. Yeah, I'll take Van Dijk.
Okay. All right. Well, there we go. We're off to a nice restart here. Let's continue. You want to read the next one?
Yeah, sure. Enrique Velasquez. As a Bayern fan, I admit I'm a little biased, but why do you think some clubs like Bayern get criticized for buying talent within their league, but when other clubs do it, cough, cough, Man City, it doesn't seem like as big of a problem? Is it just the fact that the Premier League itself has a deeper pool of good teams? It seems like the issue of top teams hoarding top players is a problem across all of the major leagues and not just Germany. Thanks, love the pod. P.S. Tell Andrew to visit New Mexico where he can get a burrito smothered with red or green chili sauce and cheese and eat it with a knife and fork.
Oh, with a pitchfork even.
Oh, New Mexico. By the way, I'm a huge Breaking Bad guy. I'm so in love with their skies out there, Andrew. The sky.
I get that, actually. I want to make fun of it, but I actually know what you mean.
If you watch Breaking Bad and you see the different sunsets and sunrises, it seems like a fascinating place.
It's kind of how I feel watching Yellowstone.
Yeah, you're Montana. Obsessed with Yellowstone. I think it's unbelievable.
I should say too, the last question I said was the easiest for me to answer. This was not far behind for me.
This is super easy. It's a problem when rich teams hoover up all the talent and then when they win the league forever.
Yeah.
That's the problem. At least, and by the way, people do focus on Man City. Maybe the English media don't enough.
Well, that was the other thing I was going to say is like, are we sure that City aren't criticized for buying Premier League talent?
They absolutely do. I think someone wrote the line, it was grimly predictable that they'd hoover up Haaland and they'd hoover up Grealish in the same, So, but the point being, City get criticized, Bayern get criticized because they hoover up all that talent from below them, even from competing teams. I mean, how many times have they raided Dortmund, who should be their natural rival in the league? And the only difference with the Premier League is that Liverpool and hopefully Arsenal this year will have broken up a little bit of the City monopoly, whereas Bayern Munich have gone pretty much unfettered for the last almost a decade or so. But this is burying the lead on Bayern Munich tonight, isn't it, Andrew?
Well, yeah, but before we get to that part, it's like, I mean, you raise a good point there that like at least Man City have won 4 of the last 5 titles, but at least they have been, with a couple exceptions maybe, but it's been pretty competitive. And it looks like this year, I mean, if they may very well like not win the title this season. So like there is competition in this league, whereas Bayern have won 10 straight. But here's the thing though, like 10 straight, obviously that says almost everything you need to know. But JJ, like the margin by which they win these titles is why I think people get annoyed and roll their eyes when they see Bayern continue to bring in high profile talent, especially talent within the Bundesliga. I'm going to just go through real quick. These are the margin of title, the margin of difference between them and the second place team in their titles. 8 points, 13, 13, 2. So you do have one close one there. Then 21, 15, 10, 10, 19, and 25 points. Like, that's ridiculous. And I know they're in the midst of a title race right now. They're back 1 point, but like this is non-competition, entirely non-competitive seasons in the Bundesliga. So when they sign a player from within the league, like it increases a gap that already feels like it's the size of the Grand Canyon. So I would think most Bayern fans could see that. Like taking Lewandowski from Dortmund, like that's soul crushing.
It really is.
Now, here's the thing. Like but I'm saying all this and it sounds like it's criticism of Bayern. I'm not necessarily criticizing them. They have their eyes on Real Madrid, PSG, Man City, Barca. Like they're trying to win the Champions League. And so to do that, this is what they have to do. They're not doing anything wrong. They've got to build as great a team as they possibly can to compete in that against those clubs. So like, I get it. But by the same token, if you're a Bayern fan, understand that people are going to roll their eyes when you continue to do this. Like it's not fun. It's not fun for the league. So that would be my answer.
Yeah, you can't be immune to that. You just can't be. And like they're FC Hollywood. Actually, that's the perfect segue. They continue to be FC Hollywood.
So Bayern in the news today in a huge way.
In the last few hours. That's true. Breaking news even.
Managerial move. Nagelsmann gone. Tuchel in. Oof. It goes to show how high expectations are there. They're 1 point out of first. They're in the quarterfinals of the Champions League after just shutting out PSG, shutting out Mbappe, Messi. I mean, manager gone. I mean, it's tough what they expect there.
It's so I went straight away to like some contacts that we have from down the years in the pod about like why has this happened. And there's a lot of people who are just like, they're reeling from this right now. Like Nagelsmann was the young, in football terms, sexy manager with all the ideas, and he was going to do this and he was going to do that. And like he has achieved like mostly what has been expected so far. I'm sure being effective in the Champions League is a big part of his remit. I did not see this coming. And nobody I've spoken to saw this coming. There has to be some tensions between him, Salihamidzic, and the rest of the board for this to happen. And I don't know why. Now, unless they looked at like, they feel as if performances are really, really falling away and there's an opportunity to win the Champions League that they clearly see, and they think they want like a closer like Tuchel, who closed out for Chelsea when he came in late. But this seems to me absolutely crazy, and I can't understand it.
Yeah, I'm pretty stunned by it myself. But maybe maybe we're naive. Maybe this should have been more expected than what we're intimating. I don't know. And I wonder what happens to Nagelsmann now, because I still feel like he's a hot property. That he's somebody that a good team would be interested in. I don't know that he leaves here. Like, is his reputation in tatters after this?
No.
I don't think that it is necessarily.
There is a slight tear in it based on the fact that there was something that freaked or spooked the Bayern board, and we need to find out what that was. Like this is so bizarre and so strange at this point in the season that like I did read something, maybe was it 5 months ago, about tensions between him and the board, but like that, not that there was even tensions, but there was maybe disagreements on some kind of signing policy. But yeah, the top of the Bayern of Bayern Munich is old Bayern Munich players. So they have certain ways of doing things, certain ways they've seen things done. And maybe he was asking to rip up the blueprint too much and they didn't like it, or they were concerned about performances, results. I don't know. But I couldn't see this coming. And now the obvious talk is that Spurs should immediately pounce on Nagelsmann. Like that is the guy to get in straight away. I personally don't see that happening. I think he'll be reeling with absolute shock from what's occurred here. I have no explanation for what's happened.
Well, if he's looking for a career rejuvenation, I don't know that North London is the place for him.
No, maybe not. Maybe not.
But you're right. But absolutely, his name will be mentioned. Tuchel's name was being mentioned. One that I was not into, by the way.
No.
I don't care that he has a Champions League to his name. Wasn't into it. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. You can tell me I'm wrong.
Jonathan Hanks, I don't feel good about Tommy Tuchel headed to Bayern. Tactics Tommy ends up in Bayern Munich. I don't know, and I don't know why this has happened.
It's pretty interesting. So yeah, Bayern Munich in the midst of a Champions League run, making a pretty big managerial move.
Do you want me to grab the next one?
Yeah, please.
Ryan Atherton. Mm-hmm. Hey guys, just want to say huge fan and appreciate all the hours of precious enjoyment to your podcast over the years. Been a fan of the pod for 2 years and a fan of Barcelona for 11. And I am shattered about the accusations on the club and want to hear your thoughts. As well, if you think this will hurt their chances of signing players. Messi return this summer? ? Thanks again. All the best from Massachusetts, Ryan. Let me deal with the Messi part of it first. I mean, the guy who literally, I don't want to say he bankrupted the club, but like trying to keep him bankrupted the club and put them in such an invidious position. So like, I don't see him coming back. I don't see how the money would work. No, don't think that's happening. And then I suppose the next question then is, will this hurt their chances of signing players? So we don't know exactly what's going to happen with these accusations, indictments, whatever you want to call them. But for example, if like the nuclear button is pressed and they're relegated, that's going to absolutely affect their chance of signing players.
So I don't know that one is going to happen.
You don't think so?
I don't know that one's going to happen for a variety of reasons. One, I don't know if that would be a punishment that could only come from La Liga. And they've already said that they cannot litigate this because what happened here, the breaches here or alleged breaches occurred outside the statute of limitations for them, which is 3 years. And this goes up through 2018, 5 years ago. So Javier Tebas has said that there's nothing he can do here. His hands are tied. Now there's the legal system in Spain is looking into this. And now we're hearing that UEFA has reportedly also opened up an investigation. So UEFA, that investigation could potentially also be damaging in that even if Barcelona wins the league, they could still be banned from European competition. And that influx of cash for a club that's already cash strapped like they are, and that's putting it mildly, that would also prevent them, I would think, from signing players. So yeah, no matter what, if this doesn't go the way that Barcelona hopes, if this goes against them, then yes, I think no matter what, they're going to be in some real financial trouble when it comes to trying to add to their team. This is like, I know we dipped our toe in this the other night. I mean, this is truly, this has a chance to be one of the uglier chapters in the last, 50 years of this sport. When you're talking about one of the most, not just Barcelona, the brand, but like, even within Barcelona culture, this is like one of the most treasured era in the history of their team, with maybe the greatest player of all time and a manager overseeing it, who's been labeled as one of the game's great geniuses. Xavi, Iniesta, two of the all-time fan favorite players among Barcelona support. I mean, like, if this continues to go down this road that it looks like it's kind of headed right now, it's going to force a lot of people to have to rethink the way they look at some of these careers. And that's very sad to me, because these are all-time greats. These are legendary players that we're talking about.
Yeah. I think I wonder, like, if Spanish football or the whole Spanish football ecosystem goes into like a protection mode because Barcelona. I don't know.
I don't get that sense.
No.
I almost sometimes wonder if the rest of Spanish football, I don't know. Am I reading it wrong to say they're almost resentful of Barcelona and Real Madrid, and that, like, the Super League stuff, and how those clubs seem to operate in a world of their own. I don't know. This is from ESPN FC. They say Barca paid Jose Maria Enriquez Negreira over 7 million euros between 2001 2018, with Spanish prosecutors alleging they sought favorable treatment from match officials as part of the agreement. Barcelona JJ are adamant that they've done nothing wrong, and that Negreira was just providing them with technical reports on officiating. Joan Laporta referred to this. He referred to this whole thing, essentially getting these consultations from a referee as, quote, very normal.
Come on.
I mean,
come on.
Is it like, why?
No, it's not.
There seemed to be quite a bit of secrecy around this for something so normal. Why would they have been operating that way? I don't think it's. I would say maybe it could be considered normal if it was a retired referee, somebody who they were bringing in to, I don't know, educate the players in certain ways of what officials like to call.
Yeah, you're stretching now, though. Come on.
Who's out of the game. But this guy was the vice president of officiating in Spain.
And the payments were enormous. The alleged payments were enormous. The alleged withdrawals were enormous too. It it stinks. It absolutely stinks. But I mean, I do get the sense maybe that this won't have quite the implications we think it will, but it still tarnishes what happened to and PK saying, well, we would have won anyway. I mean, okay, but
is that the point though?
No, it's not the point.
And by the way, do we even know? Like, that's okay. Say that. It doesn't make it true. I don't know. It's going to cause people to question if this continues to persist and we find out more information. Like, I don't know that can you just say that?
No. The other side to it is as well, Andrew, that there was just as an example, there was a famous Irish politician, Charlie Haughey, who took hundreds of thousands, millions from wealthy property developers and businessmen over the course while he was Taoiseach, Prime Minister. They never could link that he took that money and then did something. Does that make the impropriety better? It still happened. The money was still given, and that's the problem.
And incredibly, I'm reading now from Sky Sports, JJ. They write, Spanish newspaper El Mundo have reported on conversations they've had with some of Barcelona's former directors in confidentiality, in which they claim that the payments to Negreira were made for protection against perceived bias in favor of their rivals Real Madrid. So what is it that they're saying here? That, well, we needed to pay off officials because the officials are already against us and for Real Madrid?
Yeah.
So these payments were essentially to level the playing field?
That's
what?
Come on.
I hope that's not a defense that they're actually going to make publicly. I mean, it says El Mundo is saying that these conversations were held in confidentiality, which I guess they're operating under the same confidentiality rules that Greg Berhalter was. What was that called, JJ? Something house rule?
Yeah, the Charter House rules. Yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah.
I told you my deepest secrets. I told your deepest secrets to someone else. Okay. Charter House rules.
Yeah.
Nope.
Nah, pretty flimsy. Yeah, so I don't know. We'll see if UEFA, they've opened up this investigation. We'll see what comes out from it. But, oh, man, look, it's a weird thing because I'm not a Barcelona fan. I'm not a Barcelona hater, but I love this sport. And while I want justice to be served, if Barcelona were paying off officials for 17 years through all this, I want that to be known and I want them to be punished for it. But I also kind of hope that it's not true. I'm sort of hoping that there is a reasonable explanation because I don't know. I know what I saw. I loved what I saw. I don't want to now have to question what I saw. Like as someone who loves the game, I just, you hate this stuff. Like you hate it with, the scandal that went through Italian football. Now, you hate it with this. Like, wow, God, the sport just like, you love it in so many ways, but the sport will let you down in so many ways as well. It's very disappointing.
And to let people in on something, like Andrew hates talking about, outside investment. Andrew just wants to talk about the sport.
I'm a very simple boy.
Yeah. The simple boy in Andrew.
Oh,
jeez. The simple boy in Andrew's brain doesn't want to have to deal with any of that kind of stuff, any of that kind of impropriety, anything that tarnishes things that's murky. He doesn't want to know about it.
No, I want to be an ostrich.
Yeah.
I want to, like Nigel Pearson.
That's right. Are you an ostrich?
Are you an ostrich?
Imagine at a press conference.
Is your head in the sand?
Oh, good. Matthew Banker. This is an interesting one. Whether or not Arsenal win the Premier League this year, they aren't viewed as a powerhouse. Who should come in to bolster the team for years to come, and who should they replace? Okay, so I'm not going to answer that.
Great question.
This team is top of the league. I'm not going to start saying, well, they need to get rid of X or Y right now. I don't know what they need to bring in. I don't need probably more players. If they want to keep doing this, bring in more players, have more depth. But the idea that they're not a powerhouse, Arsenal are one of the biggest clubs in the Premier League, biggest clubs in England. Ergo, they're one of the biggest clubs in the world.
But I get his point though. He's saying, okay, go on, Arsenal, win the title. But when next season starts, we're all picking Man City to win the next one.
Well, exactly. So if you're talking about the powerhouses, then the houses you're talking about are the Royal House of Saud and the Royal House of Abu Dhabi. Whether they can, compete with those houses of power, that's a different question. I actually don't believe they can. I think we're staring down the barrel of one of the last few years where you won't see either Man City or Newcastle competing right at the top, or heaven forbid, a Qatari-owned, super-fueled Manchester United. I mean, United are already like a Bugatti Veyron. So what is this, like 10 Bugatti Veyrons on top of each other? So, yeah, I don't know where Arsenal are long-term, but you better pray that they win this league anyway, because I think there's Middle Eastern domination coming.
The question is a tough one to answer though, because I don't like when you look through Arsenal's squad, like again, I agree with his point. Like, I don't know, like when next year rolls around and they're in the Champions League, like I'm not going to pick them, but like by the same token, they'll have won the Premier League, arguably the toughest league in the world to win. And I look at their squad and it's like, nothing jumps off the page to me as like an obvious answer to, okay, well, they have to get better there. They got to replace this guy. Like it's not simple. Like,
no, so, it's not simple, but I would say they could do with another center back, another quality center back. I would look at, say, Kieran Tierney.
But like Saliba and Gabriel, like, are you not comfortable moving forward with that as their center backs?
But like
with Ben White as like a hybrid, like when you need to fill in a center back, or when you need him to be out wide, like he can do both.
If you've learned anything from Liverpool, you need to stockpile your center backs so guys can come in and cover guys who are injured. Look at Kieran Tierney. I think from in terms of Zinchenko, like he's fantastic. Is there any way you can get some kind of person who can come in and replace him at striker? I think they could do with another striker. Yeah, I actually do.
So, I mean, up front, we're talking about, like, obviously, look, Bukayo Saka is a gem. He's not going anywhere. But, like, between Jesus, Martinelli, Trossard, and Nketiah, Balogun, who we'll
Martinelli,
not
Martinelli, not an out and out proven goal scorer, straight up goal scorer.
Yeah.
Who else did you mention there? Trossard, great player, not an out and out goal scorer. He's not that kind of player. He's more a fella that makes things happen rather than a finisher. Jesus, got to have someone that can come in. Nketiah, too kind of erratic.
Great depth player, yeah.
Yeah, so you do need more options.
He's your Origi.
I just think Arsenal have done fabulous this season, and I almost don't want to talk about the future with them, although it's something they'll have to. I mean, who's thinking about this in a title race? I'm not.
Yeah. Well, that leads to our next question, JJ, which
Well, Lucas makes a good point here he says, I don't think anyone's going to think of them as a powerhouse until they actually win the league. That's the only silver bullet to win the media. Never mind winning the media, Lucas. You're going to be Arsenal Premier League champions is going to attract a higher caliber of player again. That's definitely the case.
Yeah.
Martinelli has 13 league goals and more than Saka, not a goal scorer. Well, I wouldn't say Saka's now goal scorer. Martinelli, that's a good return, but okay.
But they're so young. But these guys that we're talking about are so young, though.
What's that?
Well, these players that we're talking about, though, they're very young. I mean, like I don't know that we're seeing the finished product with many of these guys.
No, I'm just thinking from the Liverpool standpoint. You always felt you needed more. Like last season when Liverpool went in and went out and got Diaz and made sure he came in, you need to keep that kind of refreshing things, especially when you're competing with a powerhouse like Manchester City.
Well, that is true. Look, yeah, obviously they can't sit still. Like if you do that, they'll be passed. Certainly. But like again, Martinelli, he's 21. He's so like,
and I liked him when he was getting. I didn't think Arteta liked him though early on, and maybe he was just trying to get him up to speed and how he wanted him to play.
I mean, if you watched All or Nothing, it seemed like they all were really fond of him.
Yeah, definitely. But there was more of a sense he's going to get his run early on. Anyway, he was going to get his run in the League Cup, and when I saw him in the League Cup, I think God, he's got to start more in the league, and now he is, and he's doing well. But Julio Correa, Martinelli can have a career similar to, if not better than Sterling and Mahrez, in my opinion. Well, remains to be seen. You want to go for another one?
Yeah, sure. How about Troy McIntosh, who says, I have a question for JJ. Instead of spending all that money on Bellingham, wouldn't it be better spent on getting 3 midfielders for the same price as one? Thanks, guys. Your thoughts?
I would say, Troy, it has to be both. You have to try and get Bellingham.
Wow.
And you have to try and get 2 other midfielders in there as well. I don't think giving up on Bellingham, but Bellingham's not a silver bullet. He's not going to solve all the problems himself. And again, you're trying to recreate something. You're trying to recreate Gini Wijnaldum, Jordan Henderson, and Fabinho again.
I think this sport, I wish I had more examples off the top of my head. I sometimes think this sport proves to me that one transcendent player is better than 3 good ones.
Yeah, but I think if Liverpool, like Liverpool do need someone else in there with him. They do need to phase out some of the older midfielders in there. We've seen that this season. And Bellingham is key. Also, having Bellingham means Manchester City or Manchester United don't have him. That is a fact.
Yeah.
So I think it needs to be Bellingham +2. I really do. Whether FSG are prepared to go to the well and do that remains to be seen. Will they do it without new investment? It remains to be seen. It's a tough one, but I don't think Bellingham's going to solve the problem on his own.
Like I remember when I always go back to this when we have this conversation, but when Tottenham sold Bale and brought in the 7, I mean, this guy's saying bring in, instead of 1, go with 3 good. Tottenham went with 7 good with the money that they made off of that. Now we can debate whether or not they turned out to be good. Some of them were duds, but there were guys who left there and went other places and wound up having productive careers elsewhere. And like, it was not the same. It just was not. Now, like Christian Eriksen turned out to be a great player, but it took a while, basically until a new manager and a superstar in Kane, until those things took form. Who knows what direction it would have continued to go without those 2 things happening. So I don't know. I think I fall more in the camp of give me the superstar over 3 good players.
Okay.
I think that's where I fall.
Now here's a question that you shall answer entirely on your own.
Oh,
this is from Anthony. Can Tanguy Ndombele or any of the loaned out players be like a new signing for Spurs this summer?
Ndombele. All right, so here's the players that they have on loan currently. They're actually all pretty big names. Ndombele, he's at Napoli. Destiny Udoghi's at Udinese. Lo Celso's at Villarreal. Reguilon's at Atletico Madrid. Jed Spence is at Rennes. Harry Winks is at Sampdoria. Brian Hill is at Sevilla. And Joe Rodon is also at Rennes. I mean, going through those names, the ones that stand out to me, Jed Spence last weekend was reportedly, I didn't see it, but they played against PSG and they shut out Mbappe, Messi. They shut them out. And Jed Spence was apparently incredible at fullback in that game. So sure, I'm ready. Bring them on over. Let's do it. Some of these other ones like Winks, Rodon, Reguilon, Lo Celso, I'm good. Like, if they want to come back and they can play a role as like some kind of rotation, but like Europa League guys or Conference League guys, like if you got to round out a squad. So like, yeah, I'm okay with that. But those guys are not transcendent to me. JJ, Tanguy, and Dombele will always be. He'll always have a weird part of me, my loyalty. Every part of me wants to say no, don't do it. It's like a girlfriend that has wronged you time and time again, but you're obsessed with her. You can't let go. You can't forget about her. And every time she just does one little thing to try to bring you back in, you're all in. And I feel like, I see he just scored with Napoli. They're going to win the title in Serie A. They might win a Champions League. And I see it. I'm just like, maybe it could work for us. Maybe we need to give him another chance. Let's give him another chance. Come on. Am I wrong? Like he did everything he did at Tottenham. It was just like all the wrong things. Like his work rate I've seen all the compilation videos of him just like not trying. I've seen them. I'm not blind to it, but God, I'm just like I'm so hypnotized by those moments of brilliance that he is capable of. I can't help it.
No, I hear you. And there are just some players and you just want to keep giving them chances because you've seen the good. And I get that. I absolutely get that. I don't
know why he would want to come back.
Well, why would he in the position he's in right now? Why would he?
Right. I don't. So,
but
I mean, it may not be his choice.
Andrew.
I know it may not be his choice, but he could say no, and he could be disgruntled, and but yeah, that one is always going to be a weird one to me.
Kyle goes to the other side of North London. Well, not quite. He played in a few places with news of Ozil's retirement today. I'd love to hear your thoughts on his career, as it certainly was an interesting one.
Oh man, was it ever?
Can I give my defining moment from his career? Because look, he's a World Cup winner. He spent 7 seasons at Arsenal. I had no idea that he was there that long.
Well, the last 2 were kind of
they really were.
Darkness.
Yeah, they were. But the defining moment for me, maybe not the defining moment, but the moment that sticks in my brain is Bloemfontein, South Africa, 2010 World Cup, round of 16. The 4th goal, Germany versus England. Mesut Ozil racing away from Gareth Barry to center for Thomas Muller. And I watched it again today. And Andrew, Ozil running past Gareth Barry. It was as if a 19th century 70-year-old man that had worked in the mines all his life had just been put in midfield and was trying to catch up with this guy. It's so galling the way he breezes past him. It's almost.
I don't know if this says more about Ozil or Gareth Barry. Ozil wasn't exactly known as an Usain Bolt out there.
Absolutely destroyed him. But don't forget, he was so much younger then, and he destroyed him. But the best part of the move, and the most Ozil part of the move, was he slows down because Muller has to catch up, and he's been faced off by one of, I suppose the consensus would be, one of the best defenders ever to play in England, Ashley Cole, and he slips the ball through his legs, outside of the right boot, through his legs, and finds Thomas Muller. It's so subtle. It's so perfect. It was, it was an absolute destruction. But it's interesting when reflecting on his career, Arsene Wenger speaking to us was probably one of the most insightful things
that's ever happened on this podcast.
Well, you asked him directly about Ozil, if I remember. So I found ESPN's article. They still have us up on the website in some form. Speaking to ESPN's Caught Offside podcast, yes, Wenger quelled the notions that Ozil can be trouble in the boot room. He was not difficult to manage. He was a guy who had a special quality as a creative player and needed to have fun. He's an artist, and these guys are a bit more sensitive. They need support and an environment that pushes them to give their best.
Kind of like an Arsenal Kyrie Irving.
And you asked, so Wenger provided, Kyrie Irving, kind of. Wenger.
Whenever I see that term artist, I mean, that's how Durant described him. Like that's just what I think of.
Wenger also provided advice for Arteta, once his player at Arsenal, how to best utilize someone like Ozil. You have two ways to see a football team. You get everybody to do the same intensity of work, the same defensive work, or you find a compromise. You have a more creative player in the team who can do less defensive work, but you build a team around him who can compensate for these deficiencies. That is what you have to think about. Now, that is exactly what you couldn't do. At that point in the league, with Mauricio Pochettino's press, with Jurgen Klopp's constant, perpetual motion, you couldn't do that. You couldn't have a passenger. Wenger is totally wrong in what he said to you there. You can't have a guy like that unless he's willing to put the work in and do the real hard yards. And at that point, he really wasn't anymore.
Yeah. My memory of Ozil, when I think about his career, maybe I'm just sort of like rejecting the bad stuff, but I thought he was really a great player. Like one of the best passers that this league has seen. Even, his Real Madrid years, had a 16 assist season with Real Madrid, an 18 assist season with Real Madrid, had a 19 assist season with Arsenal, just one off Henry's record. I don't know. I think he was the victim at the end of his own demeanor. I think he was the victim a little bit of his contract and what he was being paid weekly. I think that a lot of Arsenal fans just could not get past the fact that, on the field, for however good he might have been, he was not living up to, what was it then, 350,000 a week? I mean, a massive number.
Was he not the victim also of standing up for political opinions?
I think that is part of it too.
Yeah, standing up for the Uyghurs.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the situation in Turkey, the situation in Germany as regards migrants and things like that. He had comments to say on that ultimately didn't help the situation, but those were his beliefs.
Yeah. He's still only 34.
I know. That's the thing for me. Like in the modern game, a player of his type, surely we should still see him going. Like when you see, and I know he's not even an outlier, is he? When you see what Modric is doing.
That's a little bit of an outlier.
Okay, well, I mean, Modric is what, like 6 years? Not 6 years, but
no, he's 38, right?
Yeah, 4 years older. I just feel like we should still be seeing Ozil, and good for him. If he wants out, doesn't want any more part of it, that's good for him that he can do that.
Yeah. Interesting though. Great stuff. Fascinating career, Mesut Ozil. One day, like, there will be highlight packages of him that you'll see, and you'll be like, oh, man, that's right. He was really special.
I was looking at stuff today. There was an outside of the boot pass he paid for Real Madrid. It ended up in a goal, and it's outrageous. Just the velocity, the curve on it. He was fantastic. He really was.
Yeah.
Coach Shea, would love to get your take on the World Baseball Classic that just concluded last night with Japan's victory over the USA. Andrew, I will cede the floor to you on that.
I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
I loved every second of it, except for that second of Mike Trout striking out against Shohei Ohtani. I didn't love that part. But this tournament, like, I don't know, I felt like this felt like a moment where this tournament crossed a threshold from kind of like nuance, sort of like niche competition that like hardcore baseball fans were sort of into something more mainstream. I mean, over 5 million people watched the final in the United States. That's a good number. That's a really good number for something that was on FS1, wasn't on regular Fox. So, like for me, it's now become this is a thing now.
Yeah.
Like the next one's in 2026 and I will be excited about it. I'll be interested who's going to be on this team. Who's going to commit? Who are they going to try and grab? Like, it's something that I will look forward to. The only thing I wonder about with it is, are they playing at the right time of year?
That's the question I was going to ask you. Like, this feels like a tournament that deserves no impediment. And the impediment is the start of the regular season in Major League Baseball.
Here's the problem. There is no time of year with this sport where there will not be impediment. Because the problem is, like, what was the one thing really missing from this tournament? Marquee starting pitching. None of those guys, none of like the Cy Young candidates, they're not there. And
does
so
that
like
in some way make it better?
No, if you want this tournament to really have prestige and like real gravitas to it, and I'm not saying it doesn't mean something, it meant something. You could see that it did. But for it to be the best version of itself, it's got to have all the best players.
Okay.
And so if the tournament's being held in March, these pitchers are just warming up. They've been resting their arms. They are fragile. I would say that a starting pitcher in baseball is arguably the most fragile athlete in American sports. You know, the way they're handled, every pitch is monitored, every movement, every warm-up session. And so, like, really, you're going to have a guy who is being paid this amount of money, who you're handling so delicately. Now in March, when he's supposed to be tuning up for the season, you're going to throw him out there into a series of winner-take-all intense scenarios against the best hitters in the sport. Like, you're going to have a guy, you're asking guys to go from 0 to not just 60, 0 to 75 in the blink of an eye. Pitchers can't do that. So having the tournament now, it complicates that. You could say, okay, well, let's do it in the winter. I still think you would run into that problem. And I think there are some guys too who just want to have the winter off and a little bit of time away from the sport. At least when they're doing it now, you've got a bunch of guys who are saying, well, I can either go to spring training and play baseball, or I can do it in this super fun environment in a tournament like this and play baseball.
Right.
Like if you do it in the winter, you do have guys who might be a little more hesitant because they just need some time to decompress. The other thing I was thinking of is if they do something mid-season, there's a week off for the All-Star break, double that, make it 2 weeks. See if you can squeeze the tournament in a 2-week window. Maybe that one makes a little bit more sense. All of these ones come with different pitfalls.
Yes.
And I'm not saying this one is bad.
Ultimately, you're saying this tournament needs more shine.
And it's close. I think it got it. I think this tournament, it got a lot of that shine. This felt like a marquee event in a way that I don't necessarily remember previous WBCs feeling. So I'm excited for 2026.
Yeah, a lot of people just absolutely loving it here. Tanner Lefevre, will Balogun have officially declared for the US before the Cut Offside boys actually get round to talking about him on this pod? Only kidding, sort of. We'll get there. All right.
Yeah, that question's coming up.
It's coming up.
Sometimes you got to save your best stuff in these situations because you got to keep people wanting more.
Django Bango. Andrew looking very Jake Gyllenhaal tonight.
Just add him to the list. When you're a generic white male, you look like name a white male.
And he's Andrew.
You can find him in me.
You are an everyman.
Yeah, literally.
Misael Romero got a question, pod related. When did you guys know that 1, the podcast was going to be a success, 2, you would need to make the move to independence?
Okay, well, I can answer the first one.
Yeah.
I swear I'm not blowing smoke. I'm not trying to, I'm not kidding when I say this. When the day you and I met, when we had lunch, and like, I could tell right away, I was like, okay, this is actually going to like this. I can't guarantee how many people will listen because like, I don't know what our reach is going to be because neither one of us are famous, but I know that what we're going to do is going to be good and fun. And I think that I feel that has more than bore itself out over the last however many years.
I would say deadly serious. When I met you first, I thought, cold and no, cold and distant. No, I definitely think when we met, we had a rapport. We seemed like we were into the same kind of stuff. And then it was just a case of like you went on vacation, and then when you came back, we were going to start. So, no, like success. I always knew we were going to get on and people would enjoy what we did. Reach and all that came much later, actually. But yeah, what about the second part to the question about independence?
That's a trickier one.
That was kind of, we'd been thinking about it and weren't sure how we would do it. But independence was somewhat foisted.
Well, I left. I worked at ESPN for 16 years and then I left.
Yes.
And that became a problem.
It did become a problem.
Fair enough. But yeah, we wanted to, like, I'm not going to say that there was a ceiling for us there, but it felt like there kind of was. And it felt
there definitely was. There was a periodically we get promises about doing X or Y, and they were never fulfilled, and they were never really followed up on. And I know you don't feel comfortable talking about this, but I do. There was a lot of talk. We weren't regarded in any real fashion by any of the higher ups. Not really. But our numbers were good enough that no one would say, hey, we got to get rid of these pair of dolts. And so
that is, yeah. I don't know. I think breaking, like what we're doing right now, this YouTube live stream, like we wanted to do stuff like this. I don't know that those things were going to happen there. Merchandise, which is something I promise. I know it feels like people think we've been talking about it forever. When's it going to happen? Like we're working on it now. Like now it can be a reality. Whereas before, I don't know that it could have.
No.
If we wanted to do live shows, things like that, it just, I don't know, whatever sorts of, interesting and different things that maybe we wanted to do. It felt like being independent was going to give us a chance to do those things.
Just to address one quick one from Noah Arterburn here. What benefits did you have with being an ESPN as opposed to independent, other than popping up in the feed next to the FC pod? The reach of ESPN is just phenomenal, guys. It's absolutely phenomenal. So getting out there, and it's no joke to be on the ESPN FC feed.
Yeah, that last part there. Other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, I mean, saying other than popping up on the ESPN FC feed, well, that, I mean, I can't.
Once that happened, then we really took off.
Right. I can't even it's hard for me to put into numbers how many people found us that way. I mean, so that was everything. And look, I will say that for two guys, again, I know I've said this before, for two guys who are not really former players and who are not really famous, having those 4 letters attached to this podcast gave us, I think, an instant credibility that maybe, I don't know, had we earned it? I don't know. I think I'd like to think that over time we've shown that we earned the right to have been a part of ESPN soccer coverage, but right out of the gate to have that, I mean, I don't know. And so having that and being kind of handed credibility, I think mattered. And so it was great. Like those were great years.
It was great. I have no real complaints.
Yeah.
Daniel, TV question, JJ. Your thoughts on Derry Girls?
What is this?
Derry Girls is a TV comedy on Netflix. Wildly popular everywhere, including the United States. No shock you haven't heard of it, though.
It's off my. I'm watching Damnation right now on Netflix. It's really good so far. I'm 2.5 in. Yeah. Anyway, if it pops up on your algorithm.
Well, what's that about?
Depression era in Iowa, farmers on strike, and it's turning very, very violent.
Okay.
Between them and like the government, strike breakers, things like that. And it's a lot of relationships that are starting to appear that are really interesting, and I'm into it. I'm hooked.
Okay. Derry Girls is about a bunch of girls from Derry in the north of Ireland growing up during the end of the Troubles and the start of the peace times. And it's comedy. And it's honestly, season 1 was so funny. Season 2, season 3, not as funny, but I still laugh every time I watch it. It's, I don't know, maybe growing up and going to Catholic school and things like that. I didn't grow up in the north, so I didn't have that kind of, tension, constant tension of the background of violence, but very, very funny. It's a very, very funny show. Honestly, Daniel, I really like it.
Okay.
And I think everyone should go and watch it. JT just did a wonderful article about their Klassiker between Ajax and Feyenoord. Oh, that's Karl Anke. Karl Anke did that.
Yeah.
For the Athletic. What are your bucket list of rivalry matches you'd like to attend? Honestly, any of them. Living in the States, like you just don't get an opportunity to go to that level of games. They're so far away. It's so expensive. And honestly, I wouldn't say I haven't been to Celtic versus Rangers. That's right up there.
That was number 1 on my list.
Yeah.
And I know it's cliche, but I just think seeing El Clasico, I just think would be cool.
Yeah.
But not when they're on tour. Like, I
No.
want to see the real thing.
Yeah, none of that. I've no interest in any of that. Sorry, guys. And it's
Like when
just
they
not,
played in Miami. Like,
yeah, it's just not, it's not the same. So literally any of them. And I would like a friend of mine was just at the Bombonera for it. I would love to see Boca River at the Bombonera. I think that'd be amazing. I really do. Okay. Atticus Proctor, JJ's thoughts on the new U2 album. So the first thing to say is I'm was a massive U2 fan, but equally, I don't think they've had a good album in about 20 years.
20
so like
years.
The original stuff they've done. So
you're saying like the Elevation album would be their last good one? Is that what you're saying?
So that was All That You Can't Leave Behind. That was the last one I was okay with. Everything after that was pretty meh. There'd be the odd song thrown in there, like from No Line on the Horizon. There was Magnificent. That was a good song. But generally speaking, just haven't enjoyed it. Now, this new album is Songs of Surrender, which is a album of them covering their own stuff. So reimagining all their classic songs, or a lot of their classic songs. So
is it a cover if it's your own song?
It is if you do it a different way, I guess. And so I listened to it and I thought, at first I thought, I could just listen to the original of these songs and they're amazing songs. But I would say that they do some nice little, it's stripped back. So it's more like a guitar and a piano, different vocals, slowed down, not as much production. And it's good. It's definitely good. But the great question with music, is it good because it's actually good or because it reminds you of something that was good? So I think that's where U2 are right now. And I've seen them 4 times, twice in Ireland and twice in the United States, once at Giant Stadium, the old Giant Stadium, and once at the Link. So, yeah, it's Noah, are they going to download it to all of our phones again?
Oh, that I hated.
That was annoying, man. Really
that backfired
annoying.
On them big time.
But I don't think
they took a big negative PR hit there that I don't think they were expecting to take. I think they thought they were doing everyone a favor.
No, if it was possible to have, downloaded Achtung Baby to everybody in 1992 when it came out, or 91, everyone had been like, yeah, this is great. But even then, it's an invasion of your privacy. Let me give you my music. No,
yeah,
don't want that.
I saw them once in 2001 in Philly, and an angry curmudgeon threatened to throw my friend over a balcony that night.
That's grim.
It was unbelievable.
Sorry, that's more of a curmudgeon to threaten that level of violence.
So everyone in the stadium, or in the arena, it was at the Wells Fargo Center, then First Union Center. But it's a concert. It's a U2 concert. Everyone is standing and singing along with every single song, except one man who was seated and refused to stand up and was furious with my friend who was standing. We were in the row in front of him.
No.
And he was furious with him. And he was screaming at him, cursing at him. And finally, he leaned over and said, I'm going to throw you over the effing balcony, because we were in the first row of the upper deck.
Oh.
He said, I'm going to throw you over the effing balcony if you don't sit down. So my poor buddy, we were juniors in high school, I think, at that point. We're not going to fight a 50-year-old at a U2 show. So he sat.
Honestly, like I was going to say, and that man was me. But that is just, that's woeful behavior. Woeful behavior at a concert. Come on.
Yeah, and then eventually the guy left. I don't know what was going on with this guy.
Very
so
strange.
that, it was really, I don't mean to make it sound like it was a bad time. It was a hugely fun experience. But yeah, that is a big part that I remember from it. Anyway.
David, if JJ and Andy co-starred in a movie together, what kind would it be and what would it be called?
Maybe like some kind of...
It's an odd couple. It's got to be an odd couple film.
Yeah, like a buddy cop, like a Rush Hour, Chris Tucker, Jackie Chan type of movie.
Yeah.
Maybe they call it like the right to remain violent.
No. What?
Yeah, I don't know. Feels like the name of a fun cop movie.
What about our particular backgrounds?
Maybe some kind of love triangle movie. Called
Love Triangle. I'm not competing with you for the same leading lady. No chance.
Call it Check You Later, Fun Boy.
Oh, Check You Later, Fun Boy. Noah says Buddy Cop is the low hanging fruit. All right, you come up with something better then.
All right, a war movie. I don't know.
Do you know what I'd love?
What?
Oh my God, I'd love it. Because it's both. It's what we're obsessed with. Me and you, deep in the Ardennes.
Oh my.
Dug in. Cold winter. We're together. And there's mortars. Just we're under attack. The Wehrmacht are really, really close. We're under attack. There's like grenades, guns popping off, and me and you think this is the end. And like I'm staring right in your eyes, and I'm saying, "Listen, I love you, man, and everything we've done, everything we've been through. I won't forget these times as we move on into the future." And we're just like, it's a passionate, like not passionate. That's weird. It's just pure band of brothers. And then right at the moment where you're about to say something profound, you let one rip.
I fart.
Just a big fart.
Out of fear, or just like I just had a gassy moment?
Both. Kind of both are funny, you know? Actually, no, but
that's sad. What about some kind of like coming of age comedy? Like I want to find myself, so I decide to go study abroad in at like Dundalk University, and that's where I meet you.
Listen, if you want to find yourself,
and the hijinks that ensue.
If you want to find yourself, going to Dundalk is not a good option. Let me tell you.
University.
You'll find something. It mightn't be yourself. Oh my God. Let's see. I could see
Trinity
you guys
College.
I could see you guys in an Air Bud franchise movie. Air Bud.
Well, like am I the dog?
I don't know. Every time I listen to the pod, I'm reminded of Top Gun. No. Although knowing Andrew, he'd do the bathing scenes in a swimsuit. Perf Talk movie, Step Brothers 2.
Ooh, interesting. All right.
Oh, American version of Any Given Sunday. JJ is the manager. Andy is the player who makes the squad.
An American version of Any Given Sunday. The movie's as American as it gets.
Yeah. Maybe he's drunk. Or maybe he's watched it with Japanese subtitles. Doesn't realize Al Pacino is pretty American. Oh my God, I get to scream at you. And you'd be a wide receiver, and I'd scream at you, and you'd have to vomit.
Yeah, I could see that.
That'd be amazing.
It's kind of how I work myself up for every pod that we do. Next question.
John, any thoughts on the whole Florian Balogun situation? Do you think he'll end up playing for the USMNT? Okay. Let's get
here we go.
Let's just do some reporting here. Jay Harris and Anthony Hay of The Athletic. They're reporting that England under-21 head coach Lee Carsley, former Irish international, is hopeful that Balogun will continue to represent the Young Lions, but insisted he will not, quotes, twist his arm. Balogun appears to be the center of a tug of war between England and the United States over who he will choose to represent on the international team in the long term. The informed Reims striker pulled out of England's under-21 squad for their upcoming fixtures against France and Croatia due to a hamstring injury, but eagle-eyed followers of the Arsenal starlet Instagram account believe Balogun has used the international break to travel to Orlando, where the US men's national team are currently training.
I mean, it's not exactly sleuth detective work.
No, it's not at all.
Anthony Hudson came out and said they're having conversations. I think this is happening.
Carsley said he didn't give me any inkling that there was an issue or that he was thinking of doing anything in the future. He said he is looking forward to the summer and all the rest of it. So we'll obviously follow that up after camp. I'll make sure that I go over to France. I've been to France a couple of times now to watch the players, and I'll make a point of going over and meeting Flo.
I mean, I think we are on. I think this is like alarm bells ringing. We are on red alert. I feel like this is, I don't know. Now, I mean, he's left the England's under-21 squad early to fly to the United States, to Orlando to meet with the team and like hang out. Tonight, there was a picture of him. He was at an Orlando Magic game tonight. Like this is, I don't know. there's a lot of things going on here that it's starting to feel more and more unlikely to me that he would do all these things and then not commit to the U.S. Especially with the age profile of the team is like so many key young players. It feels like he would just like slot in perfectly with this group. I mean, Charles Boehm wrote on Twitter, he said, worth noting USMNT are currently based an hour or so outside of Orlando proper, but suddenly there's a lot of smoke around Balogun's situation, and a couple of people I've spoken with have not exactly poured cold water on the rumors. Feels like another shoe is about to drop.
18 goals in 29 for Stade Rennes this season. Should be noted, he put on his Instagram when he didn't get selected in the English first team squad, which is a tough one to be put in, but he was expecting to with his run of form. In life, go where you're appreciated.
Oh my goodness.
Be easy. Are we about to have our striker problem solved?
I mean, if you think
he's good enough,
then yes. Like I think, I don't know. Again, I don't have sources. Like I'm just going off of my own intuition, vibes. Sure. F it, vibes. But like my own intuition of these situations, of like reading a situation, of literally reading what's being reported about a situation, I feel like this is going to happen. So if you think that he is of that caliber, that it solves the problem, then I think start wrapping your mind around that. I think I'll say this. I can't tell you immediately that it solves the problem, but I know he's 21 years old. He's got, would you just say 18 goals in 29 games?
Yeah.
In Ligue 1. I think he moves to the head of the line. I'll remove think. He moves to the head of the line. Like that happens right away. And he'll be given every chance to become the guy that we've been waiting for at that position. So, I mean, I'm excited about it. Now, here's the thing that I go to that I'm thinking about. There's another, like the other day when Christian Pulisic gave his interview and came to Greg Berhalter's defense in a big way. I mean, what if this Balogun situation turned into like a Jimmy Chitwood situation in Hoosiers? If he just gets on the podium and just says, I play, coach stays. He goes, I go. A lot of heads exploding again. I don't think that's going to happen.
No, I don't think that's
an interesting scenario. That's all.
Look, I think if we're going on vibes, Instagram, and just even the vibes from the Carsley comments, like so just one paragraph from Carsley, the English under-21 manager. Just listen to this. He had the loan move to Middlesbrough, which was okay. He's done excellent this season. He's really going in the right direction. If you think about the development that he's on, going in the right direction, and hopefully we can still be a part of that. He's a big player for us. I don't know. I think England are scared
of him leaving.
Well, not England are unlikely to be scared considering the players and talent they have at their disposal, but the English under-21s certainly are.
I'll say that, yeah, scared in a way that like remember when the US got Julian Green and we thought that was a huge deal, and there were people in Germany who were like, who? Like it didn't register. I think this would be different. I think that this would be something where they would say, oh, it would have been nice to have him.
No, this would be different. And don't forget, Julian Green hadn't kicked a ball for Bayern Munich senior team. Right. So this is the guy playing in top 5 league, scoring. It's a different scenario. Shall we move on?
Yeah, that's a big one though, right there. Like that's one that like be prepared for future pods to continue to monitor this.
Yeah, absolutely. This is from Gabe. I'm just listening to a recent episode, A Broken Man, and you mentioned service members and the anniversary of that massive catastrophe we know as the invasion of Iraq. As an army vet who served in Iraq 2004-2005, I appreciate the thought. It's important we remember that dark part of our recent history, which has affected so much to this day. Hopefully we have learned from it, but I'm not holding my breath. Thankfully, clearer skies were ahead for me as I was later twice stationed in Germany, where my love of football blossomed. To this day, I'm a fan and club member of Borussia Dortmund, who I began to follow during Jurgen Klopp's tenure. Talk about timing. Just thought I'd pause the episode to write in per your request, although I'm not one of those you had corresponded with previously. Thanks again. Keep up the good work. Don't forget to throw us BVB fans a bone now and then. We notice you when we do. All the best, Gabe. All right, Gabe, thank you for that.
That's very nice.
Yeah, it was nice of him. Appreciate that.
I have a question for you along those lines.
Yes.
So on the last pod, when you read that out, you started it by saying something to the effect of, I forget the exact thing you said, but something to the effect of like, Andrew might be mad at me for doing this.
Yeah.
And I was like, uh-oh, where are we going?
Yeah.
And then it was essentially a thank you for your service moment. Why would I have been mad about that?
Not that you hate the troops or that you.
Yeah. Thank you for clarifying.
No, but I was thinking A, of the clock, and B, of sometimes
the clock. You're
sometimes
thinking of 2016 me. 2023 me doesn't care.
Sometimes I just get the vibe that when I go off on a tangent, you are resistant to that tangent.
I'm going to need proof of when this has happened. These claims, and for that to be the tangent that you'd think I would get mad about, I think I deserve an apology.
I apologize. I misread the room.
You sure did.
Misread your room specifically. Okay.
Well, thank you, Gabe.
Thanks, Gabe. Toby Schwartzbauer. What an excellent last name if you were a center midfielder from Austria in the 1930s. Toby Schwartzbauer. Talk about how happy JJ is that Ted Lasso is almost over.
I haven't watched it yet. I'll get to it.
And it's not that well, first of all, it's not that I'm happy that it's over, because people are still going to keep talking about it. It's part of the culture. It's part of the vernacular right now.
They were at the White House the other day.
Yeah. And they got some really cheap White House laughs. Like unbelievable stuff. And that's the thing for me. It's not that I hate that people like it. It's that I just don't understand how. I cannot wrap my brain around it. And whenever I talk to anyone, they say, oh, I love it. And I say, I just don't find it funny. To a woman, they respond, well, yeah, I mean, it's corny, all right. And some of the jokes are a bit, but I just like it. And I don't understand that where that comes from. By the way, in terms of happy it's over, I DM'd Jason Sudeikis the other night to see if he had time to come on the podcast. He lives in Brooklyn.
What the hell?
Yeah, his DMs are open because, like, whether I like it or not is kind of irrelevant. So many people do that we should probably talk about it on the podcast. Is that not right?
No, that's very big of you. I'm stunned to hear that. I don't think of you as a big man.
I am huge.
Wow. All right.
Lana Del Rey. JJ is such a hipster. I wonder where that came from. I don't understand
why someone think that about you.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I don't hate it. I don't watch it. I just
come on. Let's not tell lies here.
I do not understand how people can like this thing. So if that means that I hate it, fair enough. And Evan Workman rounds us off. I'm just curious, what do you make of the random clips that you'll have to help me here, Andrew? I'm just curious, what do you make of the random clips that go around of Ronaldo floundering in the Saudi league? Does any of it make you guys sad? Love the pod. You guys rock. So, I mean, Evan, I haven't actually, maybe there are ones of him, like, I don't know, being slow or being 38 or tripping over his feet. I don't know. I haven't seen them. The only ones I see of him was of that free kick he took last week or whenever it was, where he drills, like, and it's literally 40 yards. Like, the fact that there's a team saying, yeah, go on, hit that, makes me wonder about the Saudi league. And he leathers it. And the wall is pathetic. It just goes straight through the wall, skips under the goalkeeper's body and into the net. And I mean, it's a decent strike from that distance, but like, it's nothing. You're not like, oh my God, have you ever seen anything like that? I haven't seen the clips of him floundering, Andrew. Have you?
Yeah, I saw one, but
have?
Yeah, but it wasn't, I don't know. It was nothing crazy. I mean, it's, I saw, I don't know. I'm not the guy who's going to revel in it. And also, like, let's keep some perspective. Like, he's 38.
Yeah.
So, like, it's okay if he's not, I don't know, like Pele out there or Ronaldo of 5 years ago out there. Like, it's okay. Like, I don't know. To me, like, it's normal. It would be weird if he was like, I don't know, nutmegging everyone and, spinning his way through the midfield and like going coast to coast. Like I'm okay with like whatever he does over there. I don't know. I'll be honest, it's kind of off my radar now. But like, I'm not gonna, like, if he's not performing up to some elite level that they were expecting, I'm not gonna take joy in it or laugh at it. Like, I don't know. I'm generally just like content with whatever his career has become. He's 38 years old. Like it's probably winding down. It's not weird to me that he would have some moments that like could make for a funny video, like negative highlight compilation. Like that's probably normal at this point. Scored twice today for Portugal.
He did. And in doing that, we should mention he scored twice. He celebrated becoming the most capped men's player in history. So he registered his 197th international cap. It's just wild. Celebrated by scoring twice, once from the penalty spot. The second was a free kick, which was a great free kick. But I watched it slowly and I tweeted about this. I'm going to get some abuse, but his standing foot is so close to the ball that when the standing foot arrives first, obviously, it's right on top of it. And I think it causes either the ground or the ball to pop just that tiny little bit. And so when he hits it, he absolutely smashes through the back of the ball because it's raised a bit. And that's where you get the velocity from it. I spent at least 20 minutes slowing the video down on YouTube. And I think I found the moment where the ball just pops a bit. But however, an amazing strike. And that second goal saw him make history. The first player to score 100 competitive goals in men's international football history. 100 competitive goals, men's international football history.
Yeah. Right back into the side after the World Cup.
Yeah. I mean, eventually they got to say goodbye, but not yet. No, not quite yet.
Not if he's still scoring. Scored twice. I know one's a penalty.
Still landed. We have a message here from Darcy. Each time I look at Andrew's background, I hear Ron Burgundy. I have many leather-bound books and my apartment smells of rich mahogany.
Yes, I am very important.
You're very learned, very, very learned.
I mean, these books are not exactly War and Peace. I've got Jeremy Roenick's autobiography, Bill Simmons, the book of basketball, which I actually do love.
Yeah,
and as long as that book is, I've read the whole thing. Yeah, I don't know. It's I got some here that you probably like, actually.
What
Munich,
ones?
1972, about the Olympics there.
All right. Yeah, so it's all pretty much basketball and grim history.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, that's sort of my wheelhouse.
And that, Andrew, was the podcast.
Oh, man, what a podcast this was. Always love the mailbag pods. Even though, I mean, we'll do another one of these, I don't know, a month or so, whenever, but still, we always try to get to as much mail as we can during the course of normal podcasts. So don't stop at CO Soccer Pod on Twitter, caughtoffsidepod@gmail.com. The Reddit, I've seen that the Reddit pages have been flying lately. I have one issue with the Reddit stuff, and it has nothing to do with the people involved in it.
Oh,
it has everything to do
with me.
Everything to do with you.
Oh.
That is supposed to be, it's fine for us to, as they say, I see them say sometimes that they know Andrew and JJ are lurking about. It's fine for us to lurk about and just kind of see what's going on and what the comments are and what are people liking, not liking. That's fine. But you are now engaging and being combative and mean to people.
No,
this is their space where they should just be able to speak freely about the show. And now they're fighting with you. What is that? Can't you just let them be?
I have got into debates on it. I don't think I've been in a fight yet. A fight?
You get in there. You're angry. I know your tone. You're angry in there.
There's a song by The National called "I'm Afraid of Everyone." That's you. You're afraid to engage in any kind of combative matter.
I've gone in there and I've seen when some negative things are written about me, and I think, all right, well, this is their space to air their grievances. So let them. If that's how they feel, then so be it.
What are you talking about? You literally internalize those things, and then they form a massive tumor, which is one day going to explode and kill us all. Don't you give me that.
I think you got to rethink what you're doing. All right. These are the animals. They're in their own cages. They don't want the zookeeper coming in and messing about.
Oh,
you're not even the zookeeper in the situation.
The Lana Del Rey. What's wrong with JJ fighting with the animals? We love it.
That's what Twitter's for. All right. These are the real fans. They don't deserve your venom.
By the way, I so wish that was actually Lana Del Rey. It's not. It's the Lana Del Rey. Chris Ramirez. Hey guys, going into my first big boy job interview Monday. You guys have been part of my life for the last 5 years. Much appreciated. Chris, you are going to kill it. Brush your teeth. Can't have bad breath in an interview. Make sure that your nice shirt, go in fully suited and booted. You'll be great.
That's your advice, huh? Brush your teeth. As if he's not doing that already.
I don't know what his oral
What do you
hygiene
think
is.
of our listeners? I wonder sometimes.
Well, we do call them the animals.
Hey, this was super fun. I love this. Thank you so much, everybody who got your questions in. Like we said, for those who don't, we apologize, but try again because we're going to do more of these, and we'll get your mail in on the regular pods as well. JJ, I enjoyed this immensely, despite all of your mistakes and errors at the beginning of the show. You rebounded nicely. You really did. I'm proud of you for all of your effort tonight, and I'm proud of all of you out there for sticking with us and watching the show and submitting your questions as well. JJ, to you, I say,
Check you later, fun boy.
I'll see you.
Take care, guys. Take care, everyone.